Hope you guys are having a good day so far. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to answer the question why President Trump won and why Vice President Kamala Harris lost. And what I did was I collected a wide variety of perspectives from independents like Bernie Sanders, like Mark Cuban, like maybe arguably Chris Cuomo, to just normal people sharing their perspectives that I think are just so incredibly valuable. And I haven't really seen anyone else on the internet kind of curate the perspectives into kind of like a little cohesive video like this. And I just thought it would be really, really interesting to kind of just go through all of these perspectives, because I honestly think that when people have the most information and they know where people are coming from, and then they actually know how to better speak to their worldview. I'm a firm believer about that. I'm a firm believer that someone else will never understand your own perspective if you don't do the work of understanding their perspective. So that's what this video is really going to be about. It's just perspectives. Okay. So now let's go through some perspectives together. This is from someone who helped inspire the conversation today, which was why Trump won and why Kamala lost. Look at this guy's valuable insights. Check this out.
What's up? I've been watching people on MSNBC try to figure out why Kamala Harris lost the election, as if that question has no answer. And it's interesting that they'll only ask people who voted for Kamala Harris, why did anybody vote for Donald Trump? Here's a thought. Maybe ask somebody who voted for Donald Trump why they did. And you're going to find out it has nothing to do with racism or sexism. It had to do with the fact that people are very unhappy with the economy and want to change in their life. So when they ask Kamala Harris, what would you do differently than Joe Biden? And her answer is not a thing. That will lose you the election. Secondly, when North Carolina gets drilled with one of the worst hurricanes on record, and you tweet that you're going to send $174 million to people in Lebanon and give $700 to the people of North Carolina, that makes people hate you. And it makes people start realizing you've abandoned them and you're not going to help them. So if you want to keep blaming everything on racism and sexism, you're going to continue to lose every election because you refuse to understand the American people. They don't care about transgenderism. They don't care about all the things you're trying to shove down their throat. They don't care about Trump's morality. They wanted a change, and you refuse to provide the change. That's why Trump won, and that's why Kamala lost.
That's so good. Something that I've been saying, like obviously across mainstream media, is they're trying to play the blame game. They're like, oh, like we're blaming white women, we're blaming Latinos, we're blaming all these different demographics, and that's why Kamala Harris lost. Like they refuse to accept any sort of responsibility here at all. Like, can't it just be as simple as maybe Kamala Harris lost because Kamala Harris didn't articulate a vision, or maybe it's because she didn't state her economic policies well. Maybe it's because she didn't speak to the frustrations that so many Americans are feeling right now. Maybe it's because our dollar is not going as far as it used to. Like, is it really that President Trump was such a villainous figure in your mind? Or was it that Kamala Harris wasn't that good or strong of a candidate? And maybe that's why we're seeing such an incredible red wave, as you could say. Like Elon Musk tweeted this saying, Arizona just declared for Donald Trump, making it a sweep of all the swing states. This says something. And if that didn't communicate enough, not only did we get the presidency, the popular vote, the Senate majority, the House majority, state governor majority, or state legislator majority, this is just a huge slap in the face of democratic liberal ideas that are taking a chokehold in the mainstream media. These ideas that they're saying, oh man, everyone cares about transgenderism, everyone cares about abortion access and all these things. And it's like, you guys are losing touch. Like, those are important conversations, don't get me wrong. But the American people spoke in this election. And if people do not listen, if the Democratic Party continues to ignore their base, then they will not stand another chance in 2028. So I think this is such a critical lesson to be learned right now. And you know what I love seeing? I loved seeing that Mark Cuban kind of, this tweet went viral because he said, "Congrats, President Trump, you won fair and square. Congrats to Elon Musk." Someone just asked me, like, why are you congratulating Elon Musk here? Because I posted this on my Instagram, and it's because Elon Musk not only contributed like $100 million to his America PAC, but he was boots on the ground in Pennsylvania for like this past month, and everyone knows that Pennsylvania was absolutely critical here. Um, eh, Actually, well, before we started counting, we thought it was absolutely critical, but now we know that he could have lost Pennsylvania and still won. But still, the idea that Mark Cuban, the independent, is actually still pushing this value of like, yeah, no, the election wasn't stolen, right? Like you guys won fair and square. I love that, and we're also seeing this from Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is actually really interesting because he's kind of throwing shade to the DNC and the Democratic leadership. And my favorite thing here is that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. responded to this saying, "Sadly late," because now he was actually, discussing that the Democratic Party is like probably will not change and they probably won't, learn from their mistakes and they're not going to go back to their base, which they should, but they just continue getting richer and richer, which is unfortunate. But if you guys wanted to watch this entire thing, you totally can. But that's kind of the gist of it. But it did remind me of this moment with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. because, like, like, like Bernie, they're both kind of screwed over by the elites at the DNC. But I was reminded of this moment with RFK Jr. because he says, "Hey, guys, put me in, coach." Pretty much. Look at this.
Well, the Democratic Party is scrambling around to find a candidate who can beat Donald Trump. They can stop looking. I'm the only one who can beat him. If they're interested, my telephone number is on the internet, unfortunately.
See, look at this. This is back in July. Imagine if you would have actually stayed in the race. Imagine if the Democratic Party chose to use some of their brain to say, you know what, maybe Kamala's not the best choice. Maybe we could actually host a primary. Maybe we could do something like this. But unfortunately, they did not. The Democratic Party made a lot of mistakes here. And Chris Cuomo even speaks to this, and people are going nuts over this. They're saying this was effing spot on. Spoke as if he was in my head. I don't trust politicians. Da 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 da. Check this out. I love it.
Got to stop thinking that the people who support Trump are like Trump, that they speak like Trump, that they act like Trump. They don't. They want to hire Trump to do a dirty job. They want him to be a virus to the political corpus. They want him to disrupt, to destroy, to demean those that they disrespect and dislike, the system that they distrust and despise. They want someone to do what they believe has been done to them and that they cannot do themselves. That's why they don't care that he exhibits terrible behavior, because they're putting him into a terrible place. If you're sending somebody into the jungle, do you really care if they're a savage? You see what I'm saying?
That was so good. If you're sending somebody into a jungle, do you really care that they're a savage? And I'm reminded of something that Megyn Kelly said a while ago. She was saying that I do not care if you call him, this and that or X, Y, Z. Things were better when he was in charge. Things were cheaper. The world was at peace. We were not we weren't made a fool of across the world. People respected this country. And I'm like, yes, he's not perfect, but like Nikki Haley has also said, is he the better choice? I would say yes, and so would how many millions of Americans have voted for him as of right now? Like what, 70 million? That's a lot.
You have to understand it that way. You may not agree, you may not accept, you may not like, but that's what it is.
Chris Cuomo being based lately, was not expecting that. Other people who are being based lately, Schenk is going nuts over here. Check this out. He says Here's my message to Democratic voters. Let's go. Get up. No point in being sad. The good news is that the Democratic establishment that has been leading you astray have been exposed as complete frauds. Rebuild the People's Party. See, this is such good advice right now. Rebuild the party. Take the next 4 years to learn from your mistakes and just build it from the ground up. What you're saying right now is not resonating with millions of people, but it can again. You just need to change your messaging, change your position, and go back to being to have more moderate values, more centrist values. Stop trying to just do what the extreme left wants you to do, but be the party of the working class again. Look at this. Rebuild the People's Party, serve the average American, and bring hope back. This is so desperate. This is so critical. If the Democrats want a future, this is how you do it. And I love this by this other woman made a great video here. The caption is, "This girl is right about why Kamala Harris lost the election." Look at this awesome perspective.
Kamala Harris did not lose this election because she's a woman. She lost this election because there were American families sitting there telling her how they couldn't afford to put food in their fridge. And her solution was to bring out Meg Thee Stallion to twerk on stage alongside just about every single one of P. Diddy's friends to endorse her. She lost this election because there were Americans who lost everything in an absolutely horrific hurricane. And she sat there telling them that $750 should be enough for them if they even qualify, while simultaneously funding illegals staying in 5-star hotels in New York City, receiving 3 meals a day provided to them by taxpayer dollars. She lost this election because she sat there talking about how anti-racism she was, while simultaneously blaming straight white men for just about every single problem this country has. Isn't it funny that if you demonize a group of people long enough for merely existing, they might not want to vote for you? American politics has changed forever. You will no longer be able to sit there and bully Americans into voting for you. It won't work. Unfortunately, our politicians on both sides seem to forget that they are actually public servants. They answer to the public, not the other way around. And they need to get behind that. They need to understand that, and they need to change and reform their policies to fit what the public is saying, or they will get left in the dust, as Kamala learned the hard way yesterday.
Come on. Are you kidding me? That was so good. This reminds me of what RFK Jr. said whenever he was running. He was like, I'm looking for a job and you're the recruiters. Right? I'm applying for a job, you're the recruiters. Like, you will hire me. And like, you will hire me if you choose. And I love that. Somewhere along the line, we forgot that. And I'm even thinking about like something this wonderful lady said, that like American politics changed forever. You know what else? What else changed was how we actually consume content and media. It used to be we turn on the news, turn on CNN, MSNBC, NBC, Fox, whatever, and then you get it and you just accept it as truth. This election said no. That's not what's happening, because in the past, actually, no, in this election, we saw that most of the time that President Trump was getting on air was through this filter of negativity. They were trying to paint him in a bad, sad, nasty, villainous way, and they were trying to paint Kamala Harris as, a godsend, and that didn't work. President Trump still won. Why? I don't have a slide of this, but I think it's because he went on podcasts. He posted on TikToks, and I think I thank Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for that. I think RFK Jr. set the notion of presidential candidates going on podcasts, like he did Theo Vaughn before President Trump did. RFK Jr. did Joe Rogan before President Trump did, and that sets a different precedent for how people are consuming information. Why? Because that is where voters are. That is where the people are. The people are no longer on CNN or Fox News. Even though we talk about them, they still play a critical role. But the deciding factor, I think, is going to be the podcast, this alternative media, the independent media. And I absolutely love it. There's so much to learn here throughout this. Like the 2024 election is absolutely going to go down in history as one of the most iconic, game-changing elections of all time. I promise you. The guy from the Young Turks also said she didn't lose despite this because, okay, so they're talking about the staggering class realignment and shift in working class. And this guy's claim is Harris lost despite major shift of affluent voters her way. And he responds saying she didn't lose despite this. She lost because of this. She ran a campaign where she bragged about how many corporate CEOs supported her and how she raised $1 billion. This reinforced the frame that Democrats are the party of the elites. That cost her the election. We've been talking about this on the channel for the past 107 days or 109 days, however long Kamala Harris has been running now, because ever since the beginning, again, you had Beyonce next year, you had J-Lo next year, you have everyone else who's on the Diddy party list next to her. And you have all these out-of-touch billionaires talking about how great she is and how she's going to make things affordable again. And it's like, what are you talking about? What do you know about mortgage rates right now? What do you know about, tell me how much gas costs right now. Do you even know, or do you not pump your own gas? You remember that video of Bill Gates saying like, oh, do you know how much an apple costs at a grocery store? And Bill Gates is like, I don't know, $4. And people were like, you are so utterly out of touch. Kamala Harris outraised President Trump by almost what? 3 times that much. She raised over $1 billion, and President Trump raised what, 330 million. That is absolutely nuts. She had more billionaires and she still lost. And this reminds me of something that Bernie Sanders said with Theo Vaughn. Bernie said, like, because Theo Vaughn asked him, like, do we have a democracy? And Bernie Sanders says, well, yes and no. Could you run for office right now? Theo says, yeah, of course you can. But if you run and I have 10 times the amount of money as you, then 95% of the time I will win and you will lose, because so much of this is about the machine. It is about the money. It is about who could actually fund their campaign, who could actually fight the suits, who could actually get on air, who could actually buy some endorsements, like all these celebrity endorsements, like with Lizzo. I heard Lizzo was paid $3 million to be with Kamala Harris. That's nuts. And people spoke yesterday. Celebrity endorsements do not matter. I saw this video from Judith. She says, if you are upset about the election results, you need to watch this video. This woman was, she used to be part of the Democratic Party, but I think her perspective is so needed right now. Check this out. Exactly. Take it from an ex-Democrat. It is time to do some research and get better. I completely agree. Also, I believe there is copyrighted music playing in her video, so I might have to cut it. If I did cut it, just go in my description if you want to see this video. But it's good, very much needed. And finally, we were seeing people like Cardi B come out and talking about just like leave her alone. She's like completely disgusted by people are apparently attacking her for endorsing Kamala Harris, and it's like, no, I'm not saying that people should go and, like a hate on her and do all these things, but Cardi B, you endorsed a candidate, you stood side by side. I think you should kind of be, you should stand by them in victory and stand by them in loss. You shouldn't try to just run away from it. But this is Cardi B. Check it out.
All right, so listen, I'm gonna let y'all know this right now, okay? So you little trumpets, like, y'all won. I know you're happy, whatever the fuck. Ain't nobody acting like bitter losers. However, y'all need to leave me the fuck alone, because I got one more fucking cigarette in me before I start lighting your asses up. All right? And that's word to the United States of motherfucking America. Yeah, yeah.
So apparently people on the left, like Cardi B, they only want the acknowledgement or the praise whenever they think they're on the right side. But is the right side the side that got completely demolished in the popular vote? Or could it be that you're actually aren't holding or being reflective of the values that you are pushing so desperately? That's kind of my question. Other things that I saw on November 5th, this is probably the most disgusting thing here. This is from Dean Withers. This guy, he posts on TikTok, he goes and debates on Jubilee, all these things. He has over like 1 million followers on TikTok. Cool. And after President Trump, after the race was called for Trump, he tweeted this saying, "America, you have failed us all. I'm sorry. This is the most disgusting, absurd thing I've ever read. especially coming from a Democrat, someone who's pushing these values so hardcore. I even posted this on Twitter. I quote tweeted this. I said, "How dare you? How dare you? You say you love democracy, but then criticize the American people when they participate in it. This is the most disgusting and disgraceful statement I've read all night. Be better." And this isn't just Dean, right? We're also seeing this kind of exist all throughout the left. You're seeing this exist with Keith Edwards. You're seeing this exist with Harry Sisson, and obviously they are upset, and it's okay to feel disappointed, but to say that America has failed us, to say that democracy has failed us, essentially, I just don't stand for it. I'm not drinking that juice. That's not okay. Anyway, speaking of Harry Sisson, I saw he posted this saying Kamala Harris's speech was amazing. It was graceful, strong, and hit the right tone. She's a fantastic leader and a great role model. No idea how she lost to Trump. Like, we already talked about this. We know how she lost, but I did want to touch on this video that I saw with, here it is. This is a clip of Kamala Harris's speech, as Harry Sisson just mentioned, right? Because I actually do think this speech with Kamala Harris was good. And I think this is this is why I personally think she lost. I think it's because the Kamala Harris that we saw on the news and in interviews for the past 3 months, I don't believe we actually saw Kamala Harris. I believe we saw a version of Kamala Harris that was completely fabricated by the people who were above her, the people that were training her. She was trying to be so many different things that they wanted her to be, and she never got the chance to actually be herself. But in this video, I actually felt some sort of sincerity. I felt like this is Kamala Harris. And like Colin says, he said genuine passion that wasn't seen on the campaign trail. I bet if Kamala Harris was genuinely herself, you would have seen this passion. But instead, you saw the shadow of this passion, which was the performer. Check this out.
People are watching. It is okay to feel sad and disappointed, but please know it's going to be okay. On the campaign, I would often say, when we fight, we win. But here's the thing. Sometimes the fight takes a while. That doesn't mean we won't win. The important thing is don't ever give up. Don't ever stop trying to make the world a better place. You have power. And don't you ever listen when anyone tells you something is impossible because it has never been done before.
You see what I mean? There is a certain passion and energy that I'm seeing now that I didn't really exist before. And maybe it's because this wasn't something that was scripted, that she said in 20 different places in all the different battleground states that she just is now repeating. But I don't know. I really think that if we saw this version of Kamala Harris, this iteration of Kamala Harris on the campaign trail, I think if she was given a little bit more freedom, and I know, I get it, she only had a little over 100 days. But I don't know. I think she's going to come back in 2028. I think she's going to take the next 4 years to refine herself and refine her positions, refine her convictions, go a little deeper, and maybe go a little bit more center. I think she could. I think this version of Kamala could, not the performer version, but this just passionate version, maybe. And now the last part of the video that I want to say, that I want to include, is there are people who are kind of getting, like, their minds are kind of being opened right now. You remember how a lot of the election denier people in 2020, they were saying, like, oh my gosh, we need a recount, something's not right. Now you're seeing that on the left. It is crazy. This person said, do not concede, Kamala, demand a recount, something's not right. Another person said, yeah, I'm a numbers person, none of this makes sense. Democrats in North Carolina voted Democrats down the board except for the president. We had a record turnout, but less people voted by about 20 million. Like, guys, this is crazy. White women voted 57% for Trump in 2020, but 51% for Trump this time, and he won. Black women, like, all these people are saying this does not add up, and they're genuinely concerned. I even had friends message me saying like, "Oh, like what's going on? I'm not understanding this. Nothing is adding up." And I told him, because he asked me like, what happened to the 15 million people? Did they just disappear? And I told him, you need to ask the question behind that question. You can't start by asking, did 15 million people disappear? You need to ask the question, when did 15 million people appear? Because so much of that has to do with where we are. But what I want to touch on is, I think it's so fascinating that people are in pursuit of truth right now. Layers are being peeled back. That's what I tweeted here, right? Eyes are being opened. And I think people are beginning to become passionately curious. And I personally love seeing that. Anyways, that's the video. I'm so happy that we got to go into so many different perspectives here. We saw the conversations that are being had on the Republican side of things, the conversations being had on the Democratic side of things, as well as the conversations being had among independents. And I thought it was great. But let me know what you thought about this. And thank you so much for watching. And I will see. Oh, and also, final question. I want you to answer this. Why do you think President Trump won? And why do you think Kamala Harris lost? Because something is clear to me. The people have spoken. And I think 2028 is going to be absolutely crazy. So let me know what you think about this. Let me know in the comment section. And I will see you all next time. Thank you for watching. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening. I appreciate your time so much, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to support what we're building here, please like and subscribe. It means a lot and it really helps us out. And if you want to see even more content from me, make sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be sharing a lot more on there. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.